Welcome y'all to the I Just Think Different podcast. I'm your host, James. Once again, this is the I Just Think Different podcast. So I like to welcome everybody that's viewing, everybody that's in the room. I'd like to take time to thank y'all for coming and being a part of this podcast. And today we're talking about anxiety and depression. So we go dive into that, and we got two people here that we'll talk and discuss that with, and we just gonna have a good show. So let's dive right on into that. Right now, I'm gonna ask y'all a question, and that is, what does depression mean to you?
You can go first.
Well, I'm naturally going to deflect to the lady first, but
Okay.
um, let's see. I guess if I had to really put it into a phrase, it's kind of hard to put a definition on it. But I have to call it like carbon monoxide, because without the proper ventilation, man, it's just a combination of different things that are going to overtake you. So, and when I look at it, why it's hard for me personally is just because it wasn't just one thing; it was just a combination of things, and it really just boils down to it was like it's almost one of those things where it's like it's almost everything that doesn't bring you joy. So this is one of those things, man. It's a silent killer. Like that's the best way I could think of it, man. Just carbon monoxide. Just
Mm,
if you don't have those proper channels, it doesn't matter how small the exposure is over time, man. You can succumb to that. So that's really that's all I got in a nutshell.
carbon monoxide, boy,
Carbon
that's serious. The silent killer, boy, just come in and clogged your whole life up.
monoxide. It's like one thing at a time, man. It's like starts with one thing, and then like you just start to lose your function over time. So it's just a combination.
Yeah, Micaiah.
I don't know. You said it perfectly, and like it's not like even with anxiety or depression, it's just you can't. There's no words to describe it. Like when you're going through it, and then you whatever like you once you figure out some things, you know what you're going through, and I think every person is kind of different, and like some ways, and like what exactly they go through, and like I just there's no words. It's you're not yourself. It's just not. You don't really know. That makes sense.
Yeah, make a lot of sense. Um, so when you in a depressed mode, does it feel like numb and you can't do anything, and you just stuck like, what am I here for? Like, what am I doing? Or is it one of those modes where you just feel like it's a lot of pressure, and since so much pressure is coming against you and you can't meet a deadline to do something, you feel like, nah, I'm depressed. I just don't want to do something.
Yeah, I've there's two like you said like there's two different like with school and work and everything you just go through so much you have so much pressure and it's like what am I doing? And like college right now, you're not learning anything. You're meeting the due date. So it's like what am I learning? What I'm going to have to take my exam and I'm not going to know anything. It's just I'm doing my work by the deadline. And then like there's other times where it's like you're just like sad, like you don't even know why, you're just like I don't even know why I'm feeling sad, like you just it's just like heavy.
Mm,
Yeah, man. I mean, it could be a number of different things. Sometimes it's you can be functionally depressed, so you're just going throughout your day, carrying on with what you can see or what you perceive to be your normal cycle. And I think a lot of the times that causes a lot of problems being stuck in a cycle, and it's being stuck in a cycle when you're not in your purpose or when you're not happy. So even if you're going through school and things aren't going the way that you want it to, or the thing, or the way that they should go, a lot of times too. That's the other part. It's not that you don't want it to go a certain way. It's just like certain things just shouldn't be that hard, and you can get to a point to where everything gets that hard, and especially when it boils down with communication. So it's not, you have different modes. I think by the time everyone else can see it is when you already cross that level to where it's silent. And by that point, that's when it's kind of like, the red flags are waved. But for a lot of people, it's too late at that point. But so being functionally depressed, I think, is by far the most misunderstood and most misleading form of depression because you're carrying on, and it's just certain things like you just can't ever shut your mind off. And it's a difference between it being creative and then just not being able to sleep, you know, looking forward to the next day just to see if things are going to get better. So it has its different forms because all of our pain is tailor made to our lives. So it's all about the support that you have as well, the outlets that you have, because recognition is its own drug. So a lot of times we didn't grow up in with the resources to identify those things, and we didn't talk about it, or we just thought it was normal. You know, that's really the thing. I think growing up in black families is like it's just normal to deal with certain things.
Mm.
And nobody really talks about it. No one really openly gets help. It's not just a resource um, that's really pushed to us. It's just one of those. Yeah, I mean, it comes in all different forms. I don't think it's just one or two.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep right there, man. Especially you said in those black households, things are just not really discussed and talked about for some apparent reason. I feel like I can understand that because of the things that they went through in past history.
Mhm.
When you told, don't go here, don't go there. And then when you come out of that, before coming out of that, you was picking. You was again told what to do and not to do. And now that you got you a little bit of freedom, you setting things up. You don't want to expose. You just want to live life, man. You don't want to deal with nothing. You just want to keep things going. A lot of black homes have that stigma where, hey, if something happened, don't let nobody know what happened in the house. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? But that handicaps you. Like, why wouldn't I let nobody know that sitting here getting abused or like XYZ is happening. You know what I'm saying? But now in current times, you say something as a kid coming out talking about your household, somebody going to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if that was really active back in our times of growing up, but right now you going to jail. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? And nobody really apologized for handicapping us like that. We
Hmm.
just got to come into it on our own and have conversations like these that say, you know what, I'm cool. I can get over it. It's cool. So, what does anxiety mean to y'all?
Man, let's see. Anxiety. It's just really just not wanting to, and it just doesn't matter what it is. It's just not wanting to. Um, a little bit derives from your depression because you get anxious about the things that are troubling you. It's like going to work every day or going to school every day. If things aren't going your way, you know, you tend to not want to be in those type of environments, or if you're not getting the support you need. Um, so the anxiety, yeah, it's just not wanting to. You know, some days you wake up because I would go above and beyond some days not to interact with people, and it was just more or less because of what could come of that. You know what I'm saying? Any type of negativity, anything really other than just a, hey, how you doing? Like if I saw someone standing somewhere, I'm like, man, I don't even want to talk to this cat. And it's just more or less too because you're just feeling so heavy, and the last thing you want to do is take on, you know, any more type of trauma at all. And I think the PTSD is involved in all of that. I mean, those all the things give us the anxiety behind whatever experience it is. So yeah, for me, it was just not wanting to. It didn't matter what it was. If it was healthy for me, I found joy in it. It was just doing the things I needed to do was pretty much it.
Hmm.
See, I live with like right now, my heart is racing. Just like getting on to just click the button and getting on and logging on gave me so much anxiety. Like I keep fiddling with my nails. Like I noticed like ticks that I have. Like
Yeah.
it I was texting my mom, like, I don't want I'm so nervous. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was texting my boyfriend, like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. It's just like little things. Like it doesn't matter if I like my friends asked me to hang out. I'm like, oh, am I really what are we gonna do? Who are we gonna see? Like, it's just like an what outfit am I gonna? What are they wearing? Like, it's just like a anything just makes me. I have to. It just takes me like way more time to think about things, and like I just like have to sit. Like now I know I have to sit and like breathe and like think about it and like really like go through stuff.
Yeah. I'm just now recently finding out what anxiety really means to me personally. Apparently, been years of this stuff going on, and best way I can explain it is if we were sitting here right now and gunshot just went off, and that sudden boom and that race of that heart that just goes, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? I feel that all the time. Just sitting here, chilling, doing nothing is boom, boom, boom. My heart will go just like that for no reason. And I'm checking my watch, looking at how fast my heart is beating, you know what I'm saying, and my heart rate. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like mentally, I don't feel nothing. I'm not really thinking of anything or trying to do anything, but here comes that little emotion that just comes out of nowhere and tries to disrupt whatever I got going on for some apparent reason. I'm like, yo, you gotta go. You gotta get out of here. But I find myself working through that and getting through that. And further conversations has brought to my attention triggers that happen, and things that happen in past life that happen to you that you really don't even think happened to you until you actually think about it and be like, you know what, that's what is causing this, or that is what's making me feel this. So going right into the next question is like, when was the first time you realized that you was depressed or had anxiety?
I'm trying to think. I think I knew I had I never okay, so when I was in like 5th, 6th grade, no one knew what depression was, like no and it depression and like mental illness just kind of finally had their like light. And so I never knew what it was or anything. And then I got into like 9th grade and I would always put my headphones in the hallway. I wouldn't talk to much people. I just didn't want to. I just was like, I didn't want to take the energy to talk to people. I just wanted to be by myself. I would go to my room every day and I was like, what is this? So I would start searching stuff like, what does it mean to be in your room all day? Or what does it mean to like not want to be with people or like whatever? And I was like, oh, and so you take those like online tests, like what are you, or like what, like those BuzzFeed things. So I was like, I like would search on there and then I figured out, and so I started like looking up stuff and like going on YouTube and looking at stuff like that to like kind of figure out how everything works. I
Yeah.
mean,
Sean?
Say, I really don't. I think, say, probably I started feeling something probably about late 2018. Is
Mm.
when it was kind of like, all right, something's going on here. And I think more or less at that time we had a rough patch with death in the family. So in like 2 years, we'd lost like 18 months of like 7, 8 family members. So at one point, it was like back to back to back. So you're talking like in October, and then you got November, and then you got you think you're riding on you think you're going easy, and then New Year's Eve before you get out of 18, you get another one, and then like last year, it was 2019, so that rolled over into 2019, and then in May I got one of the calls that you just hate to get, and that was that my 23-year-old cousin committed suicide, no note. So uh, on top of everything else that I was already feeling, and then you're dealing with work, you know what I'm saying? Like at that point, I'm working for a corporation that's just a beast, you get penalized for being good at your job sometimes. So you don't necessarily realize that you're taking on the brunt of these things. So I take that, my professional life. And it was like, even the money was cool, but it got to a point where it was kind of like how much for your soul type thing. So you got that running in the back of your mind. So I take that, and I think that really woke me up because, like I said, there was no note, it was nothing. Seemingly a happy kid. The light of any room. Had just celebrated his niece's first birthday, and within 6 to 8 hours of that, he's no longer here. So for me, that was kind of the eye opener that maybe this stuff isn't normal. Maybe this isn't just. Maybe I shouldn't just write it off as being normal. Maybe I shouldn't accept it because these are things I actually have a problem with. So I'd probably say late 2018 is when it started, and then probably May, yeah, early May is late April, early May of 19 is when it really took hold, man. And I think then I got to a point to where I went to the service, and after that, I went to work, and it was just a snowball effect. And I got to a point one day where I just stopped going to work. So
Mm.
that was it. Was it? You know what I'm saying? Like I knew everything that was going on. I stepped down from my position. So yeah, and that was that too because I was just trying to power through that. And as I was pushing through those emotions, everything was just getting worse and worse. So by the time June hit, it was a wrap. You know, I'm sitting there looking at a shell of myself, and that's really when it hits. Unfortunately, I think that's it. I took that long answer to get to that point. Is one day you look in the mirror, and you don't recognize the person looking back at you.
Mm.
So it's just a number, but those are the major events. But like you said, those are anxiety, the trauma, the PTSD behind a lot of that stuff is just every time my phone ring, you know, hoping that it's not bad news again. You know, so you're dealing with that, and then you're dealing with, you know, at work you walking on eggshells. You just want everything to go right because you just want your day to go straight. So I think when you start to feel like that, when you want nothing to happen, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like, okay, I'll deal with what comes next. That's the start of it. And then it just literally hits you that one day. And like I said, for me, I got lucky because I was able to recognize there's nothing you can do about it at the moment. You just see that, okay, I'm not myself. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, nothing brings me joy anymore. And yeah, that's the first time. So after excessive loss, then you start to look for a sense of purpose. And I think that's when it really blows up. You know, when you're lost, and then you start to ask that question of, okay, what am I doing here?
So this is fairly recent to you feeling these type of ways.
Yeah, to the point to where it was actually a thing. You know, I'd never seen anyone before, never talked to anyone. I just kind of dealt. You know, I didn't have a hard time, you know, growing up. My family, you know, they did what they could. They were working class. It's not something we talked about because no one really openly dealt with it. No one was ever, or no one was ever diagnosed, I should say, like that. And it's just one of those things as we necessarily had written it off. And I think really my uncle asked me to be more engaged and speak at my cousin's service. And I just said, yeah, I don't know why, because I really didn't want to do it. Just felt like being the eldest male in a family, that was my obligation. Um, so yeah, man, it is relatively new because it took me about a year and a half. And it's like one of those things to where you're just watching yourself lose everything, like everything that you work for. And but none of that mattered. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care at that point. Every day I was just focused and just worried about how I could get better to not feel how I'm feeling. And for a lot of people, that's a permanent answer. You know what I'm saying, that they go with. So yeah, and they say it took about a year and a half. And that was with me going to therapy and
Oh,
stories about therapy too. I know we'll probably cover that later. So that was with therapy. You're talking about probably about a year and a half to put yourself back together. There's nothing that I did, you know, it's just really working towards my purpose, really asking those hard questions. But yeah, it's probably about in the last 2 years when it started, and I had about a good year or so of just kind of masking it, and then it just boom,
mm. Just blew over, like
it just blows up.
tired of it.
That's it. Like, there's nothing you can do. One day you just stop answering the phone. Uh, I think I stayed in the house for 3 days at one point. Like, I wouldn't answer
Man,
no calls. You know, I wouldn't go to the bathroom unless it hurt. You know, somebody wanted to come by. That was just a red flag. Like, you don't want to deal with any of that. And that's just literally it. It just blew up. So it's hard
wow,
to tell.
man. Yeah, Kai, how long you been there?
I don't know, like, I feel like I didn't know at the time that I had like, I feel like it takes a while for you to recognize it, and so I don't know, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like I just explained, apparently this is something that I've been dealing with for a long time, but never really just I guess I just didn't know. But I tell you what I have been doing has been dealing with it in a way where it's not effective to the world really. It's just only effective to me. So I feel like when those things happen, when my heart just started beating fast for no reason, I still push through it and I have to tell myself I 100% am a light that has to be here to lead people to God. I gotta lead people in the right path. I gotta put people in the right perspective and bring people together, regardless of what I may go through personally in my life, regardless of what I may feel like is wrong. Like I'm definitely here to make change in people's lives. So for me to sit here and like feel away about something, I have to know that I'm in no fear mindset. Nothing is gonna happen to you, James. So why are you tripping? You just making your mind go around this hamster wheel, and the enemy is holding you by the throat, and you like, yo, let me go, and gasping like, yo, let me go, but really the enemy don't even exist there. They don't even exist until you give them power. So I'm giving them power in my mind, like, oh yeah, go ahead and take this, and yeah, let me think like that, and thinking all these crazy things. But when you got your mind tapped in on the right things, all those other things go away, because one thing is true is you can't stop what happens to the world. The world's gonna happen. But what you can do is you can choose how you react to it. And the more you react to it in a positive manner, the more positive things come around you. Because when my mom passing, for example, passing 2 days before my birthday, and me walking into the room with her and looking at this corpse and touching it and playing with it and laughing and taking selfies and stuff like that takes a strong mindset to be in a room like that with a past parent and taking selfies. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking selfies back in 2007 on a sidekick, trying to have these personal memories of my own. But at the same time, I'm saying there and looking at this corpse and saying that's not my mom. You know what I'm saying? My mom is already with me. So for me to sit here and be wilding out over it is something that I couldn't do, because it's just not there. Like I was coming into consciousness of that a year prior, asking questions about everything. Like we got Monday through Sunday. Nobody ever think about, what's the start of these names and where they come from. We got January to December, and nobody ever think about these 12 months and 12 names that come from where and what they mean and what they represent. You know what I'm saying? I was asking things like that, just little things, man. And who started this word? Who started the name James, and what did that, just little stuff I just started asking and researching and looking at, and like, oh man, this means something. Let me dabble into this. So the more time I spent is just doing research and just writing, kept me away from the realities of what was going on in my actual presence, in my actual face. Like, because my actual day to day at that time period, I'm living out my car sometimes. I'm living with my cousin sometimes. I'm living in this state sometimes, going through all these things in 6 months. That is a lot of pressure and a lot of things to deal with. Now, just imagine if I would have got me an apartment when I lived in Phoenix for a month in February, and then my mom passes in June. I still got a lease to take care of. I wasn't able to take care of that. So now that's a whole nother other thing on my back that I would have had to deal with to figure out how I'm not even deal with this apartment when I'm not even there. And I can't afford that. So that would have been something I would have had to deal with. But when my mom passed, I had to do an emergency leave. I had to leave the car that I was currently in, everything in LA, just right down the street. And here's a plane ticket. Come on back home, buddy. Whenever you could take with you, put in 2 garbage bags and put on a plane. That's it. So I'm like, I got lost the whole car. But guess what? The blessing in it is when you got back here, you got your mom's car. She got a car. So that's yours now. Put that in your name. Run with that. So it was like it was no step missed. But to sit here and think about all the steps that's going to be missed was unnecessary, because everything was still laid out for me. Still had a roof over my head, still had a vehicle to get around with. You see what I'm saying? So it's those little small things that you look at that can help you get through. So that leads right into what I'm saying is, how did it affect your day-to-day life? And it affects my day-to-day life on a sense to where when I recognize it, I have to know that it's something greater in me that's has to be presented to the world, that the world knows that if it can stop me from getting there, people won't be helped. And I gotta help the people. So if I'm handicapped from being over here and being in my own feelings, that means people don't get helped. And I can't operate in that frequency. I have to put myself in a higher frequency bracket to be able to receive what I need to receive. And if I stay down here in lower level thinking, I'm gonna be lower level thinking. Even though my heart may be pounding and racing, let's say it's pounding and racing right now, which is not. But if it was, the show must go on. I have to sit here and do this podcast, even though I might be psyched out my mind. Like, man, what if I'm not saying the right things? I'm not looking right. What is people like? Those things right there is what handicap you. Hey, what if? See, it ain't no what if. Stop that what if. The biggest what if is my parents never met. I wouldn't be here. That's the biggest what if. All right. So I can't use no what if. What I have to do is this is live. This is what it is. And if a mistake happens, then guess what? You learn from your mistakes. You can't sit here and be like, man, pre-think what's going to happen without it even happening. Because we can think of a whole bunch of stuff, you
Yeah.
know, and that just is critical on you. But like I said, the more you just do and be active, the less that stuff matters and phase on you. Kyle, like you in school, like if you just do the work and put the work in the school and just focus on just like just basic stuff. Okay, let me do a little research. Let me compare X to Z and see how that works out and pan it out. But if you do that and then worry about your surroundings, worry about gas, worry about money, worry about what the teacher gonna say, what the student next to you gonna say, like all that will fog what's going on, and then you would never do your work. And that's the whole goal, for you to never do your work, for you just go there and never pass, and you know what I'm saying, for you just to be nothing. That's what the world want. You know what I'm saying? And that can happen. You're too important.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing about the anxiety though is you really can't, because there's different levels to it. So you have some people it's a chemical imbalance. That's the part that people forget. So it's not one of those things to where you can always just think out of it. Like I had a close friend of mine who actually I haven't talked to since, because I was at one of my worst moments, lowest moments, and it was like, bro, you just got to work through that. And I'm like, I've been working through this for forever. So it's a level of this reason why people don't talk to it is because a lot of times it's like I know people that have anxiety attacks. That's not something they can necessarily think through. You know, people tell them to breathe and they're like, you don't think that I don't want to not be here? You know, and it's one of those things where it's like having tools. Looking at things, sometimes it can be a tool and other times it can be a distraction. It's another thing too, because not everyone is in their purpose. So when they're just kind of like, well, okay, I can do this, I can do that. The reality is their reality is still going to be their reality. That's the thing about anxiety, why it's called exactly that is because it's not something that you can be. Anxiety is not rational, right? It doesn't care about how strong you are. It doesn't care about what you prepare. It doesn't even care about if you know something isn't real. Like, hey, this thing can't harm me here. But anxiety says it will. And anxiety says it's going to.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that you can really replace, because a lot of times that's how you get to that point to where like the depression and all that, it piles up because we're attempting to deal, right? But we're just maintaining it. We're dealing with it. We're not really root causing. The whole point of it really is, what I've learned is to root cause, right? Because it's something that comes from that. Like the PTSD is what gives you the anxiety. You're only anxious about something because of what happened in the past. You know, to this day, I don't get text notifications because I've silenced them because of something that happens in the past. Now, if I forget and my phone dings or it goes off, you're talking about a decade plus of something already. Like we talked about triggers. I hear that ding right away, you know, and it's like,
Heart race.
yeah, I never really thought about that. And now it's like when it comes to people, yeah, I can defend myself fine against people, but it's between the ears is where it catches you. And I think a lot of times that speaks to like the condition of our environment or where we grew up, to where just looking at someone can cause a confrontation. You know what I'm saying? It's like I heard Jay-Z talk about that. A lot of times you don't want people to see you. You want people you thinking I'm looking at you, you think I see you. A lot of times people feel like you see their insecurities. That's the same thing with anxiety. Anxiety is one of those things that it makes you anxious because if people see you, they can see the hurt in your eyes. They can see the pain. And realistically, they don't see any of that. But it's the stuff that lives between your ears. And you feel like if people are looking at you, then, hey, you're going to be seen. So it's a tool that can be used, but it's something that needs to be addressed. That's why a lot of people like take meds. And that's the problem too. Medication isn't always the answer. I think they prescribe medicine before they really go through the actual therapeutic process. So like I said, anxiety is just one of those things, man, that where it's not rational at all. And you can feel that, you could think that, you could even know that. But at the end of the day, when your heart is racing and your mind is pumping, like you can breathe and get out of that. Some people just can't. And they just live with that. You know what I'm saying? Like all day. They don't have to hear a gunshot. They're just there. So the triggers can be anything. It could be a scent, it could be a smell, a smell, a scent, any different thing. Colors, for instance. If you grew up with Bloods and Crips, you see royal blue and you didn't see something happen off of this, naturally you see somebody wearing that print, it's a whole different type of reaction to that. So for some
Yeah.
people, anxiety is something you can control, you can work through, but I think those are tools that have to be installed into you. But we have to look beyond what we believe. Self-medicating is dangerous. So if you're going to work through something, you still want to consult someone who's professional, actually, to help equip you with those tools, because they break it down so easy, but it's easier when it comes from someone who doesn't know you at all. But they seem like they take this one little comparison and it kind of relates to your life. And really recognizing that it's not just a you thing helps with anxiety as well. So you have to open up first.
What do you think is so hard about opening up? Why is it so hard to let people in when, um, you know, they tell us all the time, maybe you should see a therapist or, talk to somebody about it, which is the same thing. Like, why is it so hard to get that talk out? Why is it so hard to release what's inside to say, you know what, dang, that just hurt me, or you know what, that red light got me, or that ding got me, or you talking to me got me. Like, just leave me alone for a second. Like, why is it so hard for us to get that out there and let people know what the damage really is?
Stigma.
Mm.
Most people, and even when you express how you feel, a lot of times you got to think about it. You can tell someone how you feel, and what the first thing they're gonna say, "Man, you tripping." Not
Mm.
that how you feel is valid. Not that, okay, let me sit back and really look at this. So it's really, I think the main thing is just being disregarded, right? That's why most people want power,
Right.
is because people care about what you say. Saying when you have that power, when you don't have complete power, people respect you differently. And in society, like even with instant gratification, we've already shown, and that's one of those things I think in the lobby we were talking about, is just like the socials, and you're looking at everything else, and you're looking at all these other people who appear to be happy, all these other people who telling you grind 24/7, push through, push through. So you really start to think there's something wrong, that is just a you thing. Um, it's just really just birds with feathers flock together. And one of the things that I've noticed is after dealing with people or being around with people who dealt with that, those are the people that I could talk to, because those are the people who understood, you know what I'm saying? So you can't talk to people who are close to you just because they're close to you. Because a lot of times people are going to give you advice and they don't even do it on purpose, but they're giving you the best advice that puts them in the best position for your life, or they're telling you to do what's best for you, for how you fit their life. You know what I'm saying? Some people may be like, well, you should just spend a little more time doing this or doing that. Well, that's what they think you should be doing. That doesn't necessarily mean it should be helpful for you. I think it's just really a thing about being understood, man, and really being heard. Like most people don't hear you, or they listen to respond. And if you haven't actually been through it, you don't really feel it. So I think that's the reason why it's hard to talk to, is because people do just kind of blow it off. Well, I got problems too. That's one of the first things everybody got problems. Like, of course we do, but mine just affect me a little differently right now.
Yeah. So you think the fear of someone not understanding what you're going through is a way for a person not to give off what's really going on, because you're just gonna get denied, or you're gonna get pushed away, or you're not gonna, no empathy is coming from it. You're not gonna understand me. Like, you don't know what I'm going through type vibe. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you can't empathize with me. So why am I telling you what's going on? Plus, you can't change my situation. Like, nothing you can say is gonna change what's going on. So no, I don't want to talk to you. Talk to you for what?
That's literally it, though. That's literally it. It gets to a point where it's like, talk to you for what? And especially if when you've reached out to people and you don't get that, you know what I'm saying? They're kind of like, it's one of those things where it's a you thing, you know what I'm saying? They literally just put it right back, like, well, maybe you should just approach it differently. So it literally just boils down to that. Just like, you can't really help me here. Like even when I've attempted to enable you to, or I just needed this one thing from you, and that could be the other thing too. Expectation sometimes is you go out and you say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and divulge to this person right here that I care about that I'm going through X, Y, Z. If it doesn't go the way that you expect it to, or if they're busy at the time, and they're dealing with their own thing, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, then it kind of blows up in your face. So it's just really, man, you're on an island, and it's just more or less of like talking to people. It's like seeing the ship come, right? You got the SOS, you're doing everything that you thought. You see them looking at you, and then they keep on going by. Like I think that's the easiest way that I can really put that in a nutshell. Is like talking to people about it is knowing that you see them, they see you, but there's nothing they can do to help you. I can't swim. I don't have a life raft. I don't have a radio. I can just get to where I'm going.
Yeah. So how does that affect you guys' relationships?
I know, like, in the beginning, I like relationship wise, like my boyfriend, like, and I don't know which one you're talking about, but I know for like relationship wise with like me and my boyfriend in the beginning, it was hard, and it like any argument or discussion, it was like my brain was just on 100. Like I overthought everything, and when like really I just needed to sit, like listen, and like any type of discussion we were having, it was like, well, what do we do? Like, what is, and like my brain, like we can be having a normal conversation, but in my brain, it's like a million thoughts are just going and going and going, like questions and like thoughts and everything. When like now it's like I've like expressed like what is like happening, and like he completely understands and is super helpful. And it's like I think you need some like people like that in your life where they understand what you're going through, and that you like they're always there for you to talk to, not like they're trying to fix you or change you. They just are there for you to listen and help them better understand like what's going through your head. Like I know one time we're having a conversation, he was like, I'm talking to your anxiety right now, can I talk to Micaiah? And I was like, okay. Like I like you don't even notice like things like that are happening. Like you're just going and you just start like kind of, I just get a little freaked out and like start asking a bunch of questions, and I'll stop talking. And like I know he'll know like when I stop talking, it's like, oh, okay, like she's like overthinking and it's like getting anxious.
Oh, wow. So when he told you that I'm talking to your anxiety right now, like how did that make you feel? Did you feel like that was kind of like a diss? Did you feel like you two different
No,
people, like, you know what I mean? Like, or
no,
you
it was,
understood like what was going on?
yeah, it was like oh my god, like chill, like like look at yourself, like look, like you, it really does, like I didn't even know, like I just like I know because this happens to me every day. And but like when someone else says it to you, you're like, oh, like he can see it too, like it's here.
So him saying that made it feel real to you.
Yeah.
So then you recognize then there is a real problem. Like it ain't
Yeah.
nothing that's just going on in my head. Like, nah, I got a problem for real.
Yeah.
So it's validation. You got that validation
Yeah.
from. Now,
Mhm.
has anybody else told you something like that, or was it more validated from him because that was your man?
No, like I have one of my best friends, Morgan. She's dealt with anxiety her whole life, and that's where I really got a lot of like information about everything, was like how to deal with it and like different types of things from it. So like anytime I talk about it with her, she'll just randomly text me. She was like, like my anxiety is so bad today. I'm like, oh my gosh, me too. Like what is it? I've always talked to her. She's just like, we're just super understanding of like stuff like this.
Mhm.
Well, it makes a difference. You kind of, you're going to draw, for me, you kind of push away from, ain't no kind of to it, you push away from the people who don't understand. And like you said, it's one thing for someone to say, hey, what I'm saying, it's your anxiety right now, or, you're a little anxious, or maybe you're just overthinking it. But that has to come from someone who understands or has been through it, or who's actually patient with you. Because most people don't, they can only get empathize. They can't sympathize with your situation. So for me, the relationships to where people, and I knew that they had their own traumas and their things and communication issues, I really pulled back from them, and I just stayed completely away from them, uh, because interacting with them only made it worse. And it just so happened that one of my brothers was going through something similar around the same time, and the shame, from him, in a sense, it wasn't even really shame. It was just this how bad it is. It's crippling, and the communication wasn't there. And then when I finally talked to him, I'm like, "Yo, man, what's going on?" Blah blah blah. And it's like, "Bro, I've been going through X, Y, Z." And then it's like, "Yo, me too." You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like, yeah, like yours was more severe, and it kicked in a different time. But yo, I'm feeling the same. Like, these are the things that I'm feeling. Like, how long you been feeling like this type thing? And then when you had those conversations, it's like, well, what's been going on for X, Y, Z, boom, boom, boom. And you start to really realize, and those are the people you're going to kind of gravitate towards, because those are the people that you don't have to say anything to, right? You could just literally text them or call them and say, hey, man, I'm having a bad day. And it's just like, you know what I'm saying? That's cool. You having a bad day, or is it a bad moment? You know what I'm saying? Like, you talk to me, call me when you got a chance. Like, don't do it right now, because a lot of times people try and force you to talk when you're going through it. So it puts strain on relationships in the sense to, if people aren't understanding, if they have any type of selfishness with them, it's not going to be good for someone that deals, because they're never going to be able to think outside of how you feel is inconvenient for them. Um, so it really just it almost, honestly, it purifies relationships,
Mm.
because it showed me that I was really kind of maintaining and juggling, especially, how it is when you know a lot of people, man. And, you get that call all the time to help people out. But it just really showed me that I was being the pot that was trying to water everyone else, but no one was watering me, you
Mm.
know. And a lot of that came because I wasn't sitting back, I wasn't talking about it, and I never really sought out people who felt the way I did, right? And that's the other part, is once you admit it and you come to realization with it, you can recognize other people that feel the way that you did. So that was the main thing for me, is getting rid of people who just didn't understand. And I mean, a girlfriend was included. Like, got to go, because it was like, it became one of those things to where I thought you were going to be my peace, and you end up being one of the worst things for me. You know what I'm saying? And it's not necessarily in life, but for that moment and everything that I was going through, that was not the type of personality that I needed. You know what I'm saying, around me. So really being able to let people go,
Mm.
having to let people go, is what it forced me to. But I appreciate it, because it forced me to let go of some of those triggers.
Oh, that's a powerful statement right there, man. Understanding when to let things go and when to be okay with letting something go.
Mhm.
It's not easy
And-
for people to let things go, man. And when you release those things, it's almost like a release off you.
yep.
And I don't think nobody intentionally wants anybody to feel like some type of way. But at the same time, I really can't explain to you why I need to depart. Like, I need to find self. I need to get self under control before this explodes, because if this explodes, then we might have a real problem on the hand. So I need to remove myself from this situation and know that, you know, there ain't no love lost here. You know what I'm saying? And when I catch you down the road, if I catch you down the road, so be it. But I know I need other energy around me, and this one
Yeah.
ain't fit right now. You know what
The
I'm saying?
worst part about it is when you're open and you have that conversation and it's not received. You know what I'm saying? That's the other
Mm.
part. That's the one of those things we talk about, far as communicating those things, because you start talking about it and you think, okay, I can talk to this person about it. And the last thing you'd expect is, like, same thing, like a relationship with your mother. That's like, if you talk to her, but you hold near and dear to your heart, and she downplays or just blows something off that you were like, yo, I thought you were gonna care a little bit more about this. Like, this is important to me. Is that sometimes too, and it's because people just, they don't have the capacity to handle that. You know,
Yeah.
and
My cousin had to tell me, you know what, man? Nobody cares that your mom died, bro. Because I mean, when I got after that happened, I that conversation will come up a lot. Not that I was just trying to tell people, but I mean, it just happened. It's like, man, my mom died 2 days for my birthday, man, and around this time, and I was doing XYZ, and it'd dropped the whole room. Like everybody be like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
that's tight." But to me, it wasn't tight. It was just like, "Yeah, man, my mom died," and everybody else like, "Yo, I'm sorry for you." I'm like, "Yo, it's cool. I ain't even tripping. I'm not finna." You know what I'm saying? Wild out or nothing like that. It's all good. But then the room is like, nah. I remember a time doing today. As a matter of fact, today, almost 10 years ago, I feel like almost. It was long enough, you know what I'm saying? This night or Thanksgiving night, rather, it was going down and I had said that, and they was like, "Man, definitely get him a drink." They gave me more drinks. Like, nah, you definitely need to turn up. You know what I'm saying? Because that's going on. And really, I didn't. But me turning up turned into me not being at my job the next day, the next morning, super late. Got there way, you supposed to work on Black Friday, and you supposed to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get there till like noon. Done missed all the Black Friday, like
Oh man,
lit. getting in there, getting in there smelling like I've been hanging out all night. You know what I'm saying? But
alcohol is depressing, man. That's what most people don't really realize. Like everybody turns to it and they're like, "Yo, you should drink more." It's like, no, you should actually drink less.
yeah, fall
Like,
back off
yeah,
that, man. Yeah, definitely fall back because when you put yourself in a situation like that, it's just not healthy, man. I'll tell you one thing, man. Having a glass of wine or something like that is one thing. Taking one shot is one thing. But for somebody give you a fifth and like, yo, go at it, and you just nonchalantly just going in, yeah, yo, it ain't worth it. So now I tell myself, you know what I'm saying, it's just not worth it at all to be involved in any of it, and if I drink anything, I may have a glass of wine, but I don't really have intentions on really drinking. Like I used to drink a lot,
right.
but I ain't never drink to the point to where I'm just wilding out or acting out or being abusive or doing crazy things. Man, most I do is fall asleep somewhere. That was my thing. I would pass out, go to sleep, but it affect other people differently. And if I'm not conscious of if I'm if I'm falling asleep somewhere because I'm drinking alcohol, I'm not sober minded. And that means I need to have control over my mind. So I did way too much. It wasn't the simple fact of having the alcohol, it was having too much alcohol. And I didn't take the appropriate steps to control myself rather than to put other people in jeopardy. Now they looking after me. Now I'm a burden on somebody because now people gotta watch after me if they choose to. All right, because they don't, because every human being got their own choice. You didn't have to do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm thankful that you did, but now that's a problem. Now I don't want to be in situation. Now here come the drunk. Here go dude. Hey, you was asleep last time, dog. Don't fall asleep this time. I mean,
Right.
we've been through all that. That's just nonsense, man. I don't want to go through none of that. So yeah, definitely fall back on some of that things, man. I don't condemn or condone anybody that do it, but I just know where I'm at with it, and I know where I gotta stay with it because I know what I have to represent. You know what I'm saying? I have to represent a bigger cause than what I've been going through in my life. I represent something way huger than my own personal wants, and my personal wants definitely have to get sacrificed in order for change to come.
I mean, I
And
think too. Oh, my bad, not to cut you off, but I was there. Like, I mean, I'm talking like fifth a day type thing. Like, I worked third shift. I made sure that I had it before I go to work. And if it was cool enough outside, I leave it in the whip. That way, when I get off,
oh,
we live 12 minutes from the crib, or friends from work. Got to pull me one on the way, or hit the bottle on the way. And that's just one of those things, man, where you don't really realize you start to look and you try to start to substitute. But I'm talking about, I was going heavy, like top shelf. I had to have something. Like, if I didn't get a chance to go to the store, then I'm worried about that because I'm like worried about like my vice. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I got to deal with this sober now. And it's just one of those things too, man. If you got the wrong people around you and people who enable that, you it definitely puts you in a bad place, especially when you carrying that. So like you said, for you were around those people and they thinking, yo, we should get him some alcohol. Nobody thought like, yo, we're gonna step outside and you know what I'm saying, let's talk. Like, why you just bring that up out of nowhere? Like, with me, I'd be like, yo, why you bring that up out of nowhere? I'm like, there's
yeah,
something there, my man. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's not something you just randomly, you know what I'm saying, throw out there. But a lot of people don't care beyond the moment, or they're like, yo, I don't really want to deal with that right now. But the dopest part about really being alive is really just being able to give something to someone that doesn't have value. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love, it's weird to be indebted to people, but there are a couple people that I'm indebted to just because they were there, just because they listened, and they didn't allow me to just go ahead and go off. And sometimes it was annoying that people were asking questions, but in the back of my mind, I appreciated them that much more because they didn't just had a rah rah. But a lot of that goes to about who you're around, and like how it is, especially doing music and entertainment at all. You're not really around the type of people that can support you through those type of things like properly. So you got
Right.
every vice that you need, even from the toxic masculinity to whatever drug or your choice is or whatever your vice is. Man, you got that around you. Just really just trying to put yourself around the right people.
Yeah. Kaya?
I don't I don't know what else to really say.
Yeah. So, have you ever seen a doctor for the condition?
Yeah, I went to
I haven't, no.
yeah, I had
Oh,
therapy, man. Well, because it was through, I'm saying, being working and being insured. So I went through that process. But the whole thing about it is it's like anything else. Like you want to consult, you want to have a second opinion when you do these type of things. So a lot of times you think, oh, I'm just gonna go to a therapist. And I thought, yo, I'm just gonna pick, what I'm saying, this is a black office and blah 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 blah. And I'm gonna go here. Not to really realizing that, yo, you should probably consider a couple different people, a couple different resources first before you just jump in the fire with one. So it's beneficial for certain things. Like the process that I went through is they force you through, well, and that's a force is what it is, group therapy first. And at first I was like, really like, I'm like, I don't need to hear other people's problems. I don't need to talk about this. I don't want other people in my business, you know? And I didn't get it. And it takes about 3 times to go for you to kind of buy in and for the light bulb to go off. And it was like, realistically, I'm sitting here like, yo, what I'm dealing with is rough, but your life sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, your life is terrible. Like, damn. Like, you literally just kind of go through the process and you're sitting there looking at it. So that's one of the things to it. That's one of the tools to it is to watch and be like, yo, yeah, everything is going bad for me right now, but I could be a lot worse off than this person,
Definitely.
And then, but the problem with that is, no, they want you to meet with the doctor for one day or for 20 minutes on a Friday, and he wants to write you a prescription. I'm like, I've been coming here, what I'm saying, for days, and you sit down with me for 20 minutes, and you want to try and tell me, yo, I'm gonna write you a prescription for. I'm like, y'all probably not gonna take that, bro. Like, I'm gonna let you know right now, because it was just really just being around other people and hearing, and even just seeing that my situation, yeah, it sucks, but like, yo, at least it doesn't suck like theirs. And it's kind of bad because you kind of looking at other people, but it's not, because we're all kind of playing off one another, and then you start to compliment one another. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, went to a therapist, had therapy, one-on-one sessions, and it's cool, but you just want to stay away from the corporate funded systems because it's a transaction. So they're literally, their job is just to handle you and to just pump you back into there, and to have a doctor look at me and be like, yo, I don't think you're ready to go back to work. But if I write you out longer, it's going to raise some yellow flags. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there like, damn, man, you don't know what it took for me to commit to come here. And now you just handing me off. Like, the moment that I'm really starting to like get something out of this, y'all just want to do away with me and force me back. Well, just come back. I'm like, come back? Like, I don't want to come back. I want to get fixed now so I can go ahead and go about my business. So,
Exactly. And that seems like one of the things that's definitely pressed is pop these pills, yo. Go ahead and fill this script. Go in here so I can get you turned up on whatever this script is. But the problem is, why is everybody so scared to take the pills? But we would take like Tylenol, Excedrin, and stuff like that. But whatever pill is coming through from the therapist, or they telling you to take, we like, nah, we ain't gonna take that. So it's something in this medication that I feel like they trying to get across that's gonna leave you two different ways. You either gonna be jacked up, or it's supposed to take you away from the things that you're already feeling. You see what I'm saying? Those are the two options. We either getting turned up, or we trying to balance something out. And from a standpoint of if it's gonna turn me up or balance me out, it's like I'd rather stay where I'm at. I'd rather just stay where I'm at and deal with that, because if you giving me something, I'm already turning up on drinking and all type of other stuff. So I don't want to mix all this stuff together and then cause a catastrophe, because ultimately I feel like that stuff might be a reason why you might just take yourself out. You just don't want to deal with it. Like,
I've seen personally where medication does not, where some people it helps, and it's different types, right? So they're gonna push the more popular thing to you, right? Like they tried to give me Seroquel twice. Like, no, I'm just not doing it. And
yeah,
at the time, I was back in Michigan, so we just passed the marijuana law, and like I didn't smoke until I was 33. That was one of the main reasons why. So that's what I would do, man. Instead of uh, taking the Seroquel or all that stuff, and just because I'd seen the effects, like I literally had seen someone on uppers and downers. They were bipolar and like, they had a lot going on, and I saw how bad that was for them. And then I had someone close to me who was like, "Man, I felt bad before, but one of the side effects is suicidal thoughts and blah blah blah," and they really went through this stuff.
mm,
So it's not necessarily like the medicine, but it's like any other thing. Like people have cancer, and the first thing they want to do is give you an aggressive radiation or chemo treatment. Like nobody considers anything else. Like they just take it to the top, and that's the real fear for that. Tylenol, that's different. It blocks pain receptors, et cetera, et cetera. But when you start taking these pills that literally alter your brain, you know what I'm saying, your chemical process, that can be dangerous. And a lot of times too is because people, if you do that too early, I feel like people aren't open enough to where you can diagnose them in 1 week and sitting down there with them for 20 minutes to be like, yo, we're going to put you on this dosage of this. And then, okay, maybe you haven't gotten to that layer of the onion to where now you're bringing the demons out of something else. So then 2 weeks later or 2 months later, they prescribe something else. And I've seen how that affects people. You know what I'm saying? Personally, I tried to help to get someone like that help in a corporation, and nobody would touch me. Corporation wouldn't help me. The union wouldn't help me. They literally just looked at me like, just let them fall by the wayside in the system and help. And I'm just like, oh. So when it came down to me, I recognized and knew that they didn't care because I'd already been through the process of trying to get people help.
right.
So that's the thing about it too, and the thing about it, you just can't really trust everything that they give. And that's the main thing, because same thing, they have representatives that push that. They make more money off pushing certain things, and people, we know that now. And a lot of times, a lot of people just need to be heard. A lot of people need to be equipped with tools, and really, that's the main thing, is a lot of people just aren't heard in their lives because they're in positions to where they're answering to people, or they don't hold um, their financial situation in their hands. But a lot of times people don't want to deal with that like that. You just want to be heard.
So one of the things we came across too is one of the things I keep hearing is we want to be heard. But at the same time as want to be heard, it's also that moment that comes in and says, I don't want to talk to you right now. And I don't want to hear what you got to say right now. But while we saying that, that person on the other end is still like, but I got the words to help you. Like I got something that's gonna help you, but you don't want to hear that at the moment, because it's like you want to relish in the moment. Let me just sit in this moment for a little bit and let me have my little pity party for a minute, or let me go through what I'm going through and then I'll holler at you. You see what I'm saying? But when that olive branch is reached out and we deny that olive branch, now what if that person on the other hand says, now, you know what? I don't really got time because I tried to help you out before and you wasn't receptive to what I was trying to give you, but now you got time, so I don't have time. So now we missing the help and we missing the olive branch. So it's just a hamster wheel thing that's going on around, when ultimately, again, everybody just want to be heard. We just want, want you to understand. We want empathy. We want you to just feel like, yo, I get it. You know what I'm
Those
saying?
are relationships that you let go. Because what you have to understand is, when I'm talking about that right now, and I start talking to people and we start exchanging numbers, and these people are like, hey man, you call me anytime, night or day. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'll make time for you. I can get to you even if I can't get to you right away. And that's the thing about it, to where it boils down to, everyone around you is not equipped to handle, because if you were, those wouldn't be their responses to it right away. When you go to therapy, they do a lot of listening. They don't talk.
Mhm.
They don't say anything. They let you talk. They'll ask certain questions, but it's to get you to go down that rabbit hole, to get you to go down that rabbit hole, to get you to go around the rabbit hole. They're not offering you answers. So when you're talking to people and they're like, oh, well, I think this could be XYZ, but then I'm looking at your situation like, you're nowhere near where I even want to be in my life. So it's only so much that you're going to be able to tell me, especially if I know certain things in your personal life and I recognize things that you're not equipped to handle. Like, you can't tell me anything. Like, I'm just talking to you right now to just get out how I'm feeling. I'm not asking for your advice, because that's
Right.
the other part of them is I could give you advice. And it's just really that point boils down to a point of people have to be selfless enough to where they do have time, because strangers will give you that time. It's a lot easier for strangers just to be like, hey, open up. I mean, I've done it on Twitter where people openly, literally in the middle of the night, hey man, I saw what you tweeted. You know what I'm saying? I hit the inbox. Like, I know you don't know me, but if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. And conversations and relationships have started just because of that. They didn't know me, but I just heard them out. And I was like, yo, I get it. I understand how you feel. And they're like, when I talk to people around me, I'm like, they don't understand how you feel. So they don't get it. They love you, but they're just not equipped to help you. Like, that's really the main thing. Like, main thing is a lot of people want to help, but they're not equipped to help. It's like showing up to a forest fire with a water hose. Yeah, you're doing great for this one little spot, so you think. But the rest of the forest, down in flames.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good example right there. But that water hose at least thought enough to at least give you some water. It
Right.
at least knew that this all I got to help. I know it's a big fire out there and I can't put it out by myself, but at least I came with something.
Yeah,
They
and those
brought something
people
to the
don't come
table
with
to
a
try to
butt. Yeah, those people don't come with a butt. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference, though. You tend to go to those people who do it because they want to do it, not because they feel like they have to do it.
obligation.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Yeah.
like, because those are the people that I really avoided the most with that. It's like, man, well, I tried to be there for you. I did this, I did that. Like, you tried to be there for me the way you thought you should be there for me. But you
Right.
didn't listen to me because you were trying to tell me how you need to be there for me. When if you listen to me long enough, I'll give you the answer to be there for me. So that's the
Right.
thing about it, is you can be eager. Like, no good deed goes unpunished. And that's because people can't look outside of how they feel they can contribute to a situation, instead of really taking into account that this person is going through something that I just don't understand. Like, I just don't have the answers to. Like, if they don't have the answers to the pain that's tailor fitted to their lives, how can I do that? Like, I can't do that, but I can listen to you. And you should
Right.
still talk to someone else. But you can't approach that situation to where, no, I try to be there for you, but XYZ, because that goes to depression, anxiety, the PTSD, all of those things. It's layers, right? And then if people aren't at peace with themselves, and if they're busy and they have other things going on in their lives, they're just not equipped to be there for you, because they're going to say triggering things, they're going to have triggering behavior.
Kai, you think this is something that you go deal with for the rest of your life, or you think it's something that can be shook?
I think yes. I think I'll deal with it for the rest of my life, but it's all about how bad it will. Like, I feel like different times in my life where it's been harder. Like, recently, like, my anxiety is I just barely like think about it or like deal with it. When you talk, like, say, like 2 or 3 months ago during quarantine, it was like an everyday thing where it's like every time I think about something, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just, I was more higher, like, anxious and like that. I just think different. It just depends on like where I'm at in life.
What have you been doing recently to kind of ease some of those things?
I wish I knew, because I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, I just feel like in general, I just stopped thinking about things so much. Like, I just go with the flow, and it's hard for me because I'm usually like, I need to know like what's happening and like what are we doing? What is this like after this or this? Like, I don't like change, but I've just kind of just like not given up, but like I just need to go with the flow and just be happy. And if things change and it's for good. Like, everything happens for a reason.
Why do you think it's so important to know in advance like what's going on? I know that you mentioned earlier, like when your friends was trying to go out and you trying to go out somewhere, you thinking about clothes, what to wear, hair, and everything. Like, why is it so important to fit into the world how you think the world wants you, rather than to just be you fitting in the world?
I don't know. I think it's just I've always been like I always like, oh, like I'll ask what we're doing on the weekend on Monday. Like what like and now I'm like, what do you mean it's Monday? I'm like, wait, what are we doing now? Like I just always have been that way where I want to plan ahead. Like in my room I have a calendar of everything that's happening during the week. Like it's just how I've always been. Like I have the OCD in me, like the organizing and like just things like that. Like when we hang out with friends and like these people cancel and then they're coming back and then they're canceling and come back, it's just like I'm not going because you guys are ridiculous. Like that's when I get super anxious and when things change abruptly like that.
So you get mad when people flake out because you took so much time into planning things. So let me ask you this: when you plan things, how much stuff have you planned actually worked out the way you planned it on a
Oh,
percentage?
never.
Mm.
I can plan. I can sit here and think about like before you go to bed, like what tomorrow's gonna be like. I used to do that every time before I would be like, okay, what's I'm gonna wear to school tomorrow? This is what's gonna happen. This is kind of conversation. We're gonna talk about this. But like if you sit there and try to continue and you dread so much time and energy and thinking about what's gonna happen, it's it's a waste of time when you should just be living in the moment.
So it's like the
Yeah.
fear of the unknown. What bothers you?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right.
Yes. One of my biggest fears is the world ending. Like
Mm.
I had one time I had a dream that a tsunami came and took over, like literally I was in our apartment and I looked out the window and I thought I saw a tsunami. I stayed in my house for a week because I was terrified that that was going to happen. Like I got a dream that it was going to happen. It was just like the fear of the unknown is like I'm the pickiest person you have ever met. I don't eat. I stick to my usual chicken tenders and fries when we go out to eat. Like I just don't. I'm just not very good at changing things up.
Oh, so
One of
sudden change is not a thing of your liking.
Yes, and like I push myself 100%. I know when I can. Like if it's like okay, let's go on the dragster, I'm gonna freak out and I'm gonna be like I don't want to do this, but then I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna be okay with it. It's just all about pushing myself to actually do those things.
So you're saying you want to be able to do those things, so you're getting yourself used to being able to be acceptable to change. So at
Yeah.
least you in the process and moving forward with that, instead of handicapping yourself, thinking like, walls are going to collapse between you. Like you're
Yeah.
taking the step forward already to free yourself.
Hmm.
That's kudos on that.
yeah, and I don't really believe it's something that I'll deal with. I think to an extent we will, because now that I know that I've gone out and I've had the treatment and I've exposed myself to professionals, I do see value there. So no, I don't believe that. I hope that it never gets to that point again, because now I understand that there are tools there to help that. So I would encourage people to at least talk to someone. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times it peels back some of those layers. Because I'm able to look at other people. Like I've been in leadership positions since I was 19. So the ability to lead people and not have to reprimand. I think I was like 15 years into, or like maybe 12, 14 years into, somewhere around there, before the first time I ever had to reprimand someone. And it's just because of I've always had the ability to get through with just communication. Um, so that's the main thing, is the communication. I believe the communication, it does help, it does get better. And it's just the right type of communication. So if it's one of those things to where, again, self-medicating and self-diagnosis is dangerous, because the main thing that therapy does is it makes you confront, it makes you look at who you really are. They're very honest, they're brutal, right? They don't sugarcoat, they'll tell you straight up, no, you're making excuses. Like you just need to do XYZ. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times people think, well, I don't want them to talk to me like that. I'm like, no, they're not brutal, but they're literally that brutal. Like, yo, I've been listening to you for the last 15 minutes and you just gave me excuses.
Right.
So then you sit there at the end of the day, like, yo, like I really, damn, like
Am I making excuses?
you call me out. Yeah, and exactly. And that's the part of so for me, it was like, yo, take more control. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, when I took more control and I really went there and there was a question, I was like, yo, you don't really want to go back there, do you? I'm like, nah, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm invested into this. You know, my personal thing is starting to take off and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, so what will it take for you to get out of that situation? What do you need to do to be realistic, to put you in a good spot? Not just run away because that's going to create another problem. But what can you do? So those are the type of conversations that you really have to have. And you only have those conversations with the type of people who are equipped to do that. So like if you can find you a therapist, because that's the other part that they don't admit. Majority of the Fortune 500 have therapists. But
Right.
the majority of the Fortune 500 don't look like us either. But that's just one of those secret things and those quiet things. When I listen to people all the time when they have, you know what I'm saying, money, when I really started committing to this and it was like asking people who have things, it's like, yo, who you talking like, oh man, my therapist, blah, 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 blah. They talk about it openly among themselves because they're with themselves, but they're not going to talk to it to the masses. You know what I'm saying? Because it's one of those things they kind of want to keep hidden because it's almost like I want people to think that I did this on my own and I overcome everything on my own. And they're like, nah, you really just kind of like disabling the people around you that can make you better. Because if I enable you and tell you, yo, you should go talk to somebody, it could free up something in you that puts you on the next level that could help me or help somebody else. So yeah, I'm always going to speak that to the mountaintop. I think it's necessary. And even if you haven't been to some, you know, see someone, not just Michaela, like just anyone. I say Michaela, right?
Okay.
Sorry, Micaiah. So like Micaiah, it's the same thing. It's like don't get to a point to where you just feel like you're just gonna have to deal with it or to go because it can get better with the right type of support, with the right type of people. Because expression is a thing that makes you better. Because we're just holding all of this inside. So even for me, something like this, 6 months ago, I would have been like, no, I'm definitely not gonna do a podcast on that. You know what I'm saying? A year ago, I definitely wouldn't have done it. You know, like, yo, that's not what I'm doing right now. I'm busy. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have time because I didn't have, it wasn't the empathy, you know, it was empathy there, but it wasn't the same. Like I cared about it. I spent a lot of time on it. But as far as like really speaking on my experiences and people around me who have done things, I've gotten more good reviews out of therapy than I have negative. What I have gotten negative is the wrong doctors though. So if you get a doctor and he was like, after about that third time, you sit down and you talk to this person and you get nothing out of it, go see somebody else. Because it'll be like the other relationship and it'll kind of click and you'll be comfortable with talking to this person. Because the first thing that they say to you is really going to kind of dictate, you know, yeah, okay, so you get it. You know what I'm saying? You're not just sitting here and just handling me for this hour or whatever. They're going to know how to handle that. So, no, I don't think it's something I always deal with.
The main meat and potatoes of the whole thing, I believe, is definitely talking to somebody. But
Yep.
it ain't talking, it's definitely who you talk to.
Yep.
It ain't talking to somebody, it's who you talk to. You got to be able to talk to the right person, which definitely leads into this final question here. And is, you know, do you think God can heal the heaviness that comes from the depression and anxiety?
I don't know if anything, it's like with anything else for like, just like people, so far as God heals, they give you the tools, right? The tools are here and you have to use those tools, right? So it boils down to at the end of the day, you can pray all you want to, but it's like kind of like a dream, right? A dream or a plan with no action is just a dream, right? We all dream, but if a lot of people have those dreams, okay, I dreamed of being in NBA, I dreamed of being in you know, I wanted to be the CEO of XYZ. If you put that work into it, I believe it will get better, but you have to be committed to being better. Nothing or no one is going to save you. It doesn't matter who it is because the tools are there. We just have to use them. You have millions of people telling you, showing you that the tools are there. And you can definitely take that and understand that, you know, you're God. And, you know, even if people aren't spiritual or aren't religious, that whatever higher power they believe in, even some people just believe in karma, just understand that it's like, yo, it's a way for me to pay this forward and for me to get this, get this off of me. And I have these tools given to me by my God. So I believe, yeah, the tools are there. It's just necessarily that we just have to step outside of what we believe them to be. So you got to open up a little bit. That's the only way you're going to get better at anything, really, is opening up and understanding. Like, yo, if I was good at this, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And that's really just a sense of it. Really, like for me, like, yo, if I was great at everything, I wouldn't have these questions. But I'm not the only one that has these questions. But I want to deal with people who are like me. And that's the main thing I will get to real quick, is when you surround yourself with people who are also in their purpose and are doing the type of things, it makes it a lot easier because you can kind of talk to them. So when I talk to other people in entertainment, like, yo, you know what I'm saying, how you deal with this, I deal with that, like, yo, I got a therapist. Like, I do this, I do that. And it's just really being around those type of people who are already using those tools. So seek people out who are going through the things that you're going through, because they're going to be the ones that can kind of give you those references a lot of times. So I think you can get through it. We just have to recognize that the tools in front of us and capitalize on that.
Yeah. That's real good, man. I definitely believe, me personally, God definitely will heal whatever you got going on by
Mhm.
placing those tools in front of you. But if you're not recognizing those tools, again, you'll miss your blessing. So you gotta be conscious enough and tapped in enough to understand what's coming towards you or not. As we spoke earlier, it's about, talking to somebody, but talking to the right person. Now, here's the thing, like you could be saying, or that person could be saying, yo, God sent me to talk to you, and then you not tapped right. So that could very well be true. But if you're not tapped right, you're not going to understand that. And then you tossing that blessing away. And then now you're speaking to the wrong person that's telling you the wrong things when the right person was right here, but you wasn't prepared for it because you didn't have the right mindset and you wasn't tapped in right. You see what I'm saying? Even though you was asking for something, it came, but it didn't come how you thought it would come. So
Mhm.
you didn't accept it. You didn't accept it properly because that mind is a powerful thing. Like we can do so many things with our mind, and it travels way fast. And before you know it, you can talk yourself out of doing something that you wanted to do for years. Just like this podcast, something I wanted to do for at least 10 years. Now it's the everybody and their mama got one. I
Yep.
mean, but this is something I've literally been wanting to do for a decade and some change. All right. So this ain't no like, just overnight thing. Like it definitely has been uh long time coming. And just to know everything that's going on behind it, like even working with the radio station and being an intern at the radio station and being behind a broadcast booth. That's literally basically what this is right now, sitting in front of a mic. I look like I'm on the radio. So
Right.
to have that already, to be walking in that already, even though I wasn't on actual air, like now this is all manifesting itself, man. Like me
Start to
going
make
to
it.
the audio school, graduating, me living in Pennsylvania before, living in Pennsylvania now. So it's like all of it come 360 all around, and you can just see how things work out. But that don't mean that you ain't gonna be faced with adversity and things that are gonna stop you from, being the super person that you are, because things try to block us all the time. And you just gotta recognize, what I'm saying, those things. And it gets kind of hard sometimes because everybody always feel like they got the answer. Everybody always feel like, you know, they got, they're a top scholar, you know, especially in the times we live in now. Everybody think it's a conspiracy theory, the government, the family, like, yo, it's everything. Everybody putting everything into a box. Everybody's a freaking a medic now, and everybody know everything about race and everything because it's all been thrown into your face right now. But what people don't focus on is that they woke up with 24 hours and they would rather spend that 24 hours talking negatively about a person rather than to use that 24 hours to speak positive and make change in life that you live in right now.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. And so once we move around that and maneuver around that and can bust that wall down, we're going to make better change and be more progressive moving forward because we definitely have the skill set and we definitely have the ability to make change. We just got to step into the change and you got to be the change that you want to see. And you have to lead that by action. And nobody said this life was going to be easy. I just said that life is easy myself. So that was almost like a contradiction, but it kind of is easy and hard at the same time. It's hard because your mind manipulates itself, but it's easy because all you have to do is do it. Nike gave you the perfect slogan, just do it. That's all you got to do. Just do it and everything will work itself out. It really will work itself out. And it works itself out because you're putting the work in. Nothing is going to work while you're sitting there stagnant. And as long as you handicapping yourself, you will remain handicapped. But if you believe that you can change your condition, then your condition will be changed. And that's just what it all start with. And it start with things like this, man, having conversations, just being able to talk it out. I'm no therapist. I haven't went to school for to be a psychiatrist or anything like that, but here we are talking. Just having a regular conversation or life and things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Like what is anxiety? What is depression, Um do I really feel like I can't do anything or just laying in the bed? I really could use that excuse from things that's been happened in my life and my past things, but I don't want to use any of that because I feel again I'm too important to the world, so I can't handicap myself and not allow my talent to be released into this universe. I have to break that wall. And I know that wall is coming at me, so I have to look at it and bust through it. And it's no excuse. And what you said about the therapist is one thing is they blunt and straightforward with you, but at the same time, that bluntness changes you. It makes you it's a switch and it makes you change. So technically they did their job because they got you off your butt to do what you needed to do.
Right. That's the
See what I'm
point.
saying? So that's the point, right? So
But tactfully, like you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
They're tactfully, and they're not judging at all. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. It's not a personal thing, but they just really get you to tap into the potential or see the things that you're already doing, right? Because
right,
a lot of us are already doing it. We just don't recognize that we're doing it.
right,
That's just the main thing about it. Is just whatever it is, the things that bother you all the time. Like if it's one of those things that's nagging or you think about all day, those are the things that are worth addressing because those are the things that build up, and that's what turns into the anxiety, and then that's what turns into the depression, and then that's where the PTSD and all that stuff derives. So same thing, man. If it's school, you're not, not necessarily Micaiah, just anyone. Like if you're not really, I don't know if I really want to do this. Well, if you keep saying that, then that's not what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to work every day, like man, I hate it here, but they make good money, man. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yo, you're never gonna be happy. You can do this for 30 years, but I watched it. I watched people go through those processes and go through things because they felt like, well, this is a blessing. Like it's only a blessing if you work it like one. You're working it like it's a burden. It's a blessing to people that appreciate it. And I had to really look at it like that. Like, yo, I used to pray for these problems. I prayed for certain things, but I didn't pray for peace, or I didn't understand that certain things came with that. So now that I understand now is, okay, it's important to pray for peace along the way. But praying for that peace is doing the things I know will bring me peace. So it's making sure that I do everything the right. First time quality, man, really. Like the first time I hit the bottom, I didn't want to hit it again. Like that's it for me. Oh, this is what this is like? Yeah, I don't ever want to go here again. So these are the tools that I got. All right. I don't care if it's the tools that I want. I'm going to take this pickaxe and I'm going to go ahead and dig my way out of here now. You're going to have your days. It's okay to go to below the line. It's just not okay to stay there.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Feel like people hold you down but never help you up,
For sure.
And you gotta find your way to get up. And once you got that attitude that you up from being down, it almost make you builds another type of defense wall when now you keeping other people back from trying to come destroy what you done built up already because again you wasn't really with me when I was down on the ground. You was just kicking me while I was down on the ground instead of giving me help. So once you get that help, it makes you feel like, why I need you? Why are you here? You see what I'm saying? Like I'm good now. Like now you want to come around since everything is better. But the thing that got missed is we all human beings that help each other. So while you was in your feelings, you probably missed the help. And now that you up, you probably felt like help wasn't there, but it really was because now you good on your own, which was the help. You had to recognize what you had to do on your own in order to become successful.
Yeah.
You know, so everything plays itself all into the right time. You know, everything is in moderation. Like I say, right now, I feel like my life is a repeat round two. Like I feel like everything is now has happened 10 years ago, just all in reformatted into a different thing, but it looked visually the same to me. So it's asking me, all right, what you doing with this 10 years this time? Everything pretty much I got now I had 10 years ago. You see what I'm saying? Pretty much. So now it's like, okay, now how you moving at this 10? You watch 10 years go by. What you doing with this 10? You gonna do the same thing you let go in that 10 or you flipping it? Obviously it's been flipped because I'm talking to y'all. So it's not really the same 10. You know, you learning and you getting better and you move forward. So I can definitely appreciate that. And I love this journey that I'm on. And I love bringing other people on and being able to talk to different people and to get, you know, bigger conversations, man. And that's just pretty much what I want to do. That's pretty much what I'm here for. And it's gonna be so much more from this podcast and the things that I do. Like, I like to have these real conversations about, you know, real people and real situations. That's what this is, you know, changing one life one day at a time. That's what it's all about. And aside from that, you know, I'll get on sometimes and just talk my talk about just how I feel about life and how I feel human beings should be reacting and how they should be treating each other. I haven't dove into that yet. And once I tap into that and people hear that, they're definitely going to understand where I'm coming from because, you know, I'm not downing anybody. But as I said in this same podcast, we all got the same 24 hours. So what you doing with yours? Most people like to sit here and talk about everybody else in their 24 hours instead of moving forward collectively to build something. We all collectively have to build together. Like nobody does this by themselves.
Right.
And the person that feel like they did it by themselves, they collapse at some point.
The frauds.
Yeah.
Frauds. It always
The veil will be unrevealed. You know what I'm saying? It's go show itself. Good fruit produce itself. You can see that. You know, a lot of people get off with saying, yo, I'm real, but you're more living through a real than being real. You know, a real is being shot with a camera, but real is an action that is shown. You don't have to speak it. So that's something that's already gonna be seen if you real or not. You see what I'm saying? But we get off, man, I'm so real, man, but not really. Anybody's really saying that? Usually not. You know, mis they misdirected the real, you know, confused about what real really is. You know, just apply that action and move forward. You don't have to say nothing negative. You know, all our life and being raised you know, coming from Michigan, man, I feel like it's a cloud over you that either makes you or breaks you. And I'm sure everyone can say that about where they from. But the reality of that is what do you do with what you're given? They say, you know, life gives you lemons, make lemonade, but you know, well, I don't want to make no lemonade. I want to do something else with the lemons. You see what I'm saying? Like you always told to make the lemonade. Well, if lemonade ain't the option, see what I'm saying?
Right.
If I just want to eat the lemon, you have a sour mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like we've all had this cookie cutter life that's just been handed to us, but it's like, what do you really follow when you get old enough to know what it means to actually be an adult and to make change? And you know, that's what it boils down to. Nakai, you in college now and you're influence on, you know, your sibling. You an influence on different people that look up to you and watch you. And they're watching your move and they want to see greatness come out of you because they a lot of them probably have an expectation. You know, they expect you to be successful, you know? And then from hearing that, you might feel that pressure against yourself, like, man, I gotta make it because I don't want to disappoint them. But then you gotta realize, you know, again, life happens. So regardless of what happens in life, you still got to get up and be, the positive change that they need to see, because through you is where it's going to happen. So if they're looking at you and you not feeling the best, they're not going to feel the best, because they're drawing energy from you, and you got to give them that light every time. Even when they feel bad inside, you got to smile at them like that and just let them know everything's going to be okay, because they need it. They need to see that. They need to feel that. Like, you a real example to them. So I mean, that's just how the life flows. They shine the same thing, man. Like, everything that you're doing now, musically, past, and currently right now, is a whole journey of a empire being built single handedly. You know what I'm saying? Broke down so many walls of Jericho, and you standing looking at the wall like, "Psst, what wall? Ain't no wall. Ain't nothing that can stop me. You can keep talking, you can keep knocking at the door, doing whatever, but I'm gonna be successful and succeed, man. You ain't gonna stop what's going on over here, period. And I gotta get it done. And with me getting it done, the right people gonna be placed around me. And there's a lot of people that try to jump on that bandwagon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people that try to get some of that sauce and soak it up, but you gotta expect that, because check it out. If they ain't jumping on that bandwagon and they ain't trying to get that sauce, then guess what? You ain't important.
You ain't doing it.
You ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing at all. So you gotta have people hating on you, man. You gotta have that enemy jumping in that box trying to stop you from doing what it is that you do. Because if he ain't there, you ain't moving. Because if you on his time, if you on his team and you on his time, he ain't gotta holler at you. You already doing what you're supposed to do, which is hating. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, you already had you stagnant. You're not progressing forward. You a slug. You see what I'm saying? The whole life is like a tortoise in the hare. The hair took off, boom, thought he was gangster, taking all the time, doing whatever. But guess what? That tortoise caught up. That's like karma coming around. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it will get you. So don't think like, you know what I'm saying, the stuff that you doing now ain't gonna catch up with you later on. Oh, it's gonna come knock. But how you gonna be prepared for it when it come knock at you? All karma ain't really bad karma, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And every L, like I said before, ain't it's no such thing as a loss. It's called a lesson. And the only loss is life. You know what I'm saying? You only lose when you don't have life. It's a lesson learned, and we supposed to get better from the lessons that we learn every day. And we take that and we move forward to make better change in the world. And that's all that we can do. And it's a lot of things that's gonna stop us from doing that, but you don't pay attention to that stuff, because when you do, it puts you in a box, and you don't want to be in a box because you're bigger than the box. Why would I be? I'm too big to be in a box. You can't box me. They tried to box Jesus and he broke out a wall. So you can't box greatness. He's gonna always prevail. You know what I'm saying? Walked out of a full tomb. You know what I'm saying? So hey, that's just what it is. So I appreciate y'all for coming on here. The I Just Think Different podcast, having this episode 8 with me. Depression, what? Anxiety, who? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna lead us in the prayer, and then we go get out of here. And y'all enjoy the rest of the night, and y'all enjoy y'all journey moving forward, because y'all are special to the world, regardless of what anybody say or think. Y'all definitely special and making a huge impact in this world, and no one can take that away at all. So,
Appreciate that. Likewise, brother.
appreciate it. God, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to have this podcast tonight. I'd like to thank you for allowing me another chance to live another day, to be able to have my voice spread across these airwaves and the internet and worldwide. I ask that you would just give all of us on this podcast peace. I ask that you would just give us your strength and your knowledge and your wisdom. I ask that you would just allow your will to be done over our lives. For the people that's listening to this podcast, God, I ask that you would just bless them and soften their heart. For those who don't know you, I also ask that you would just touch them in a way that they know that you are real and that you will make an impact in their lives when they come and ask for you willingly, openly, and faithfully. I also ask that you would just strengthen the people out there who just don't really have a way, Lord. This is the season of Thanksgiving, and we're thankful and grateful for everything that you've done, did, and gonna do. So I ask these things in Jesus' name. I pray. Amen.
Man,
Mm.
All right, man. I'll check y'all later.
later, peace.
Peace.
Nice to meet you, guys.
Nice to meet you.